What's up YouTube, I'm Mike, and today I'm back with a very exciting video. I have been waiting more or less for 5 years for this opportunity. Since I started making YouTube content, I have been making content that was designed to educate and inform, and then it became really a social experiment for me. It became an experiment of me just sharing my own personal experiences, my own personal experiments, and just me and my wife and my family as the people that we are. I've said many times in the past that my YouTube channel is sort of my form of therapy. Rather than going and paying a therapist to sit and listen to me drone on about whatever, I get excited about something, whether it's a current event, something that's going on in my life, a marital problem, a problem with my children, my bodybuilding journey, my professional journey, my life journey, whatever it is. I just like to sit down in front of the camera and just pour it out completely uncensored, unscripted, unhinged, and just put it out there. I don't know. That's just my thing. I've spent a lot of time in my life in therapy, as will come as no surprise to you. And this doesn't seem any different. Because if I go to sit in a therapy session, I get one person's perspective about whatever I tell them. And they have a vested interest because they're getting paid. If I make a YouTube video and I say the same thing to the entire planet, I mean, not that the entire planet watches, but they certainly could, then I get all kinds of varied views. And I think that's the best way to grow as a person, is to fully expose yourself for who you really are, pull no punches, wear no mask, and then let society tell you what they think. Spoiler alert, by and large, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. That's why it's so easy for me to make this content. But I have been genuinely curious to see, outside of the sort of trinity army that I have developed, I have a very rabid following. You guys have already been on top of this video that I'm about to reference. And so let me get to the point, right? So I found out today that a guy named Coach Colton made a video. It's basically a review video of my entire channel. This is something I have been looking forward to for a very long time. I have been trying to engage Vigorous Steve or Greg Doucette or More Plates, More Dates, anybody who could help me get the type of content that I create out to a bigger audience, because I definitely think it has value. I run experiments and I'm open and transparent in a way that basically nobody else is on YouTube. There are very few content producers like me, as Coach Colton will testify to in this video. So if you haven't seen his video, this is going to be a response to his video. I have linked it in the description below. You should definitely watch it in its entirety. For my fans, let me forewarn you, this is not going to be the typical takedown video that you guys are used to getting from me. Because in my estimation, Coach Colton did a phenomenal job in his review of my channel and me and my wife as people. He very easily could have sunk to the depths that other people have sunk to. He could have chosen to try to curate my content and try to paint me out to be his version of me. He could have tried to control which parts of me he presented to his audience, and he did not do that. This man immediately needs a press pass. This guy should be a journalist. We need more people in our world that are this level. I feel like he gave me the fairest review that you could possibly come up with. In my estimation, Coach Colton has become today a god amongst men. There are very few people who could take the kind of content that I produce and then take the massive amount of time that he must have invested in this to consume the content, try to understand the content, try to understand me as a person, try to understand my journey. And then I felt like he did a really, really remarkable job of just presenting to his audience who I claim to be without putting too much of his own spin on it. And I think that shows a remarkable level of character. I do not know anything about this man. I chose not to watch any of his other content before I make this video because I did not want to be tainted by who he is. I only wanted to respond to what he said about me. I will almost certainly go watch more of his content and try to get an idea of who he is, because we definitely disagree about some things. I am not in this video going to go into massive depth into our disagreements. This video is primarily for his audience who might be coming to my channel for the first time, and for him himself, I just want to set a few things straight. So again, I don't usually, make it, my videos are always totally unscripted, but I did watch his video in its entirety twice, and I've made some notes about the things that he either got wrong or misunderstood or misconveyed that I want to set straight. And then I want to kind of bring this 5-year journey to a complete, to like a before and after, where I started, some of the things that have been said along the way, and where my wife and I stand today. So again, Coach Colton, I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate you being a God amongst men, having the nerve, the intelligence, the patience to wade through my content and to produce this video. Again, I can't thank you enough. Hopefully other people will use me. Use my content as a source to make your own content. We both win when that happens. This video, the last time I checked, like 9 hours after posting, had almost 4,000 views. I wish my fans were that rabid. I've got tons of videos that don't have 4,000 views on them. So again, thank you, Coach Colton. So right out the gate, I want to explain to Coach Colton and to his audience why I used the Bob character in the beginning of my YouTube career. That is something that has been very misunderstood, and it is very mischaracterized by Coach Colton in his video. I was using the Bob character for several reasons. One, I was brand new to steroids and brand new to YouTube, and I didn't know what I could legally get away with. I was very scared in the beginning to be the person that I finally became. Most people are smart enough maybe to not be as candid about their use of anabolic steroids, depending upon what country you live in. There are a lot of ramifications that could come from me speaking openly and honestly about my experiences. So I endeavored, and as he said, it's not really much of a, he's right. By me creating this Bob character, it's not like a huge protection, but in the beginning, it felt better given the fact that I was involved in a legal proceeding that I'm about to explain. It felt better to not be saying, I am doing steroids. In a legal sense, and a direct admission carries a lot more weight, whether you want to believe it or not. Sure, they could have used the content against me anyway, but to directly admit to something really ties you or your lawyer's hands behind their back. And because I was so new and fresh to the game, I was not confident enough to speak openly and honestly, and so I created the Bob character. At that time, I was involved in a custody battle over my 2 sons. Let me clarify this. I had custody of both of my sons from a prior marriage. Their mother abandoned them into my care and did not speak to either of them for 8 years. I was their sole provider. I was a single father for a relatively short period of time until I met Sarah, who is my current wife. She is not my new wife. Sarah and I will be married we will have been married for 10 years on June 8th of this year. Okay, we have been together for a long time. My youngest son, Paul, Sarah is the only mother my youngest son, Paul, knows. He does not have any memories other than the ones that were created during this legal proceeding. He does not have any memories of his birth mother. So the legal proceeding that I was undergoing at the time that I was using the Bob character was because after 8 years of me and Sarah raising my 2 boys together, their mother had come out of the woodwork and was trying to get split custody of them, living far away from us, basically 2 hours away from us. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. So I was not trying to do anything to feed her otherwise very, very weak case against me. Like I said, she had not seen her boys for 8 years. She had little to no case against me. And so here I am making steroid bodybuilding content, and I was concerned that that could be used against me, and I used this kind of ridiculous character as a way to sidestep or at least make me feel more comfortable with that situation. As Coach Colton said, in the long, it probably wouldn't have helped me. Interestingly enough, during the custody proceeding, my steroid use came up and was totally ignored and dismissed by the court. So they ultimately didn't even care. So that was the reason for the Bob character to begin with, and the confusion about my wife. I had been divorced from my boy's mother for over 8 years, and Sarah and I have been their parents. So I just want to put that straight, because that's Coach Colton did a really great job of synopsizing who I am as a person. He was very fair and very efficient in explaining the myriad of things that I talk about on my channel. So most of what I have to set correct in this video really has more to do with Sarah, my wife. One of the things that I noted here that I would like to point out, that I agreed with Coach Colton. He said a couple of things about bodybuilding general, like estrogen doesn't make you low estrogen doesn't make you dry. Again, I'm not even gonna start. I could do a whole video on why. I cannot even fathom why you would say that. Water retention and bloat on aromatizing compounds is one of the single biggest problems with aromatizing compounds. So I hope that I don't know what he's suggesting with that. It seems absurd at face value, but again, that's not this video. What he did say that very few people, including some of the biggest names in the industry, don't seem to understand is that 19 NOR drugs, particularly trenbolone, produce prolactin. They will increase prolactin levels. Now, side note, they will not produce prolactin on blood work. So Coach Colton mentions that 19 NOR drugs can cause lactation. I have experienced this. No, I will not put the picture that I took of the lactation up on this video, because I don't want this video taken down. It is on my Discord. My Discord is free. You can go to my Discord if you want to see my lactating nipple. When my nipple was lactating, I was testing, my prolactin level was testing low. So 19 NOR compounds clearly have they either antagonize the prolactin receptor, or they produce a type of prolactin that is not detected on a test. I still do not know scientifically exactly what happens. All I can tell you is that definitively cabergoline will reverse all of the prolactin-induced side effects of 19 NOR drugs. The overwhelming majority of the negatives that are said about Tren and Deca 19 NOR drugs is caused by the fact that they are progestogenic, they're progestins, they produce prolactin, and that is what causes basically all of the negative side effects. The overwhelming majority of the negative side effects can be prevented or seriously inhibited by using cabergoline on cycle. I run cabergoline year-round because I run trenbolone year-round. So again, I've already covered the details about my wife, my ex-wife, my current wife, and custody of my sons. My oldest son is now 18 and out in the world on his own. My youngest son, Paul, still lives with me and Sarah, and she is the only mother that he has ever had, and there are no custody battles and no dangers and nothing. My family has been examined in detail twice by CPS. They know everything that I am up to. We have passed muster 2 times because my ex-wife was trying to get my kids taken away from me and failed in both attempts. So everybody rest comfortably. My children are fine. Sarah and I have a daughter together. Her name is Allison. She has her own YouTube channel. It is called The Rise of Allie. You can see my lovely daughter also on YouTube in all of her glory. My son Paul has his own YouTube channel. It's called Tomahawk Twizzler. I will probably link both of them in the description. I might link them in the description below. Both of my children are active on social media, and you can see the fruits of my labor for yourselves. So for all of you people in the comments who think I'm this abusive, terrible father, I abuse my wife, I abuse my kids, you can see my children in their natural environment, and you can determine for yourself what you think about their demeanor, their psyche, you know, how they seem to be developing. One of the things that I do need to point out for the audience that I massively disagree with, that Coach Colton said, is he initially was right in saying that Sarah is running a low dose of Primo. She's running a very low dose of Primo. Then he came back and said, oh no, I was wrong. She's running a dose that's 10 times too high. This seems to be because he's confusing primobolan and testosterone. My wife has tried multiple androgens as sources for androgen replacement therapy, which comes to another point. I hate it when guys like Coach Colton, I think he is smarter than this. I know what he means, but I wish he would stop saying it. I get caught up in the same thing. I will say something like estrogen is a female hormone. Estrogen is not a female hormone. Testosterone is not a male hormone. Males and females both need physiological amounts of each of the hormones in order to function. My wife's body does not function normally without a minimum physiological amount of an androgen. It does not function normally without a minimum physiological amount of an estrogen, a progestin, all of these things. Men and women both need them. I wish we would stop calling these men and female hormones. 20 milligrams, my wife is no longer taking 24 milligrams of Primo. She takes 20 milligrams of Primo per week. That is an exceedingly low dose. It is, most female bodybuilders, most female athletes will tell you it's not even an efficacious dose. We didn't think 20 milligrams of Primo was going to do anything. The way that we know that 20 milligrams of Primo is not 10 times a replacement dose is because my wife has done 3 milligrams of testosterone, and she had exponentially worse side effects on 3 milligrams of testosterone than she does on 20 milligrams of primobolan. Primobolan is nowhere near as androgenic as testosterone because it is already 5-alpha reduced. This is a well-known fact in the bodybuilding community. It's why primobolan is, to some greater or lesser degree, female safe. Just like Anavar is a DHT derivative, they are substantially safer for women than testosterone. There is no safe androgen for women. Any androgen that a woman takes is going to, over a period of time, almost certainly going to cause some level of masculizing effects. One of the things that Coach Colton does, I feel, again, a very good job here, is he doesn't judge us for our lifestyle, but he also doesn't promote our lifestyle. My wife and I are not promoting our lifestyles. We are not telling other women to run out and do 20 milligrams of Primo a week. I'm not telling anyone, well, sometimes I do, I think trenbolone is the single greatest hormone ever produced by man. Trenbolone is without a doubt the safest and best male androgen you can take if you take it properly. It is safer than testosterone. I guarantee you, I don't care what anybody tells you about a study where a human got exposed to it in water. This is absurd beyond belief. I have been running this drug for 3 consecutive years. I get blood work checked very regularly. It is dopaminergic. It is possible that I am doing neurological damage to my brain because I run tren regularly in super physiological doses. There are a number of studies showing that low-dose trenbolone is safer in every way than standard doses of testosterone. Low-dose trenbolone is safer than testosterone. It causes less swelling of the prostate. I can't even remember. I've made multiple videos about that. That's not for this video. Okay, so my wife is on an extremely low dose of primobolan that most female athletes would say is not even enough to accomplish anything. He shows clips in the video where I talk about my wife's lubrication problems. One of the biggest things that has occurred over the course, hang on, let me make sure I want to go. I guess we'll talk about that now. So one of the things that you have to take into consideration, and I think, again, I really think that Coach Colton did a really good job of giving you a broad stroke, trying to show you the beginning, and I just feel like he didn't do the best possible job of wrapping up the ending, so I'm going to do that for you. My wife has struggled with lubrication problems her entire life. She has been under the care of doctors since she was a teenager. She has had low estrogen levels when she was at various points in her life. We have been through hell and high water trying to manage her libido, her lubrication, and her menstrual cycles. So the losers and the haters in the audience are going to watch the video and they're going to see she has low libido, she has lubrication problems, she doesn't love her husband has a tiny penis, her husband doesn't know what to do with her. They're going to blame it all on me. And that's fine, because if they actually watch my content and her content and some other content that you found out that we used to make, then you will know that that is not the case. I'm very happy to report that after extensive personal testing and experimentation, my wife's lubrication problems that have plagued her for 43 years were very recently solved by estradiol injections. She has had low levels of estradiol her entire life. We thought her libido and lubrication problems in the beginning were caused by a lack of androgens. It is one of the reasons that you see so many videos with her talking about she tried Anavar to fix her libido. She tried Primobolan to fix her libido. She tried testosterone to fix her libido. We thought that the androgen was the problem. What we found, which is something we've actually found is true in me too, is that estrogen plays a substantially greater role in libido and sexual lubrication. My wife, I can assure you today, is a slip and slide within 30 seconds of contact. Okay, we have totally solved her problem. And what is so catastrophically sad is that no one, for an almost 10-year period, while we were going to doctors, while we were doing research, when she was complaining about this, no one suggested estrogen replacement. And the doses that they recommended were so small that even when we started using it, she got some relief, and it wasn't until recently that she accidentally overdosed her estrogen and her libido went through the roof. We are currently doing a new experiment right now where she is taking a higher level of estrogen than she was typically using, and she's experiencing more vaginal lubrication and more libido, and the only thing that has changed is her estradiol dose. So this is one of the reasons that my channel exists, is I have been doing the very hard work. My wife and I have been doing the very hard work of guinea pigging our bodies for everyone else's benefit, because doctors do not know what they're talking about. They will prescribe you these cookie cutter hormone replacement therapy approaches. They won't address androgens. They won't use injectables. They'll only use pills, which are proven to be less safe than injectables. We have had a disastrous time with doctors, and my wife and I's experiments have paved the way for not only her but women all over the world to get relief from problems that they may have been plagued by their entire life. And so every one of the sexual problems that my wife and I once experienced, and you have heard me talking about ad nauseum on this channel, have all been rectified by the use of Primobolan, estradiol valerate, and progesterone. I forget what you take. What is it? Norethesterone? I think it's norethesterone. It's progesterone powder. She has made videos on her channel talking about this. I'm not going to beat this to death. Let me see whatever note I have here. Two more notes. So the other thing he says about my wife is that when you go to her channel, you are greeted with a video of her talking about her Anadrol experience. My wife does not take Anadrol. My wife took Anadrol. She took Anadrol 2 times. She took it once at 25 milligrams and didn't feel it at all. And then she took it once at 50 milligrams, purely to know what it felt like. She was very explicit in saying that she does not advocate, we do not advocate anybody taking Anadrol for any length of time, even though there are people who will tell you it is female safe. She is probably almost certainly going to try Tren Ace, possibly this week. Okay, my wife and I, our objective in life is to have what Fight Club calls a near-life experience. We are trying to get the most experiences out of life that we can. That's why we did the OF experiment. It was an experiment. It is almost certainly over. The content is not down. Somebody subscribe to it today. Thank you. We are primarily embarrassed of the content. We are not good at producing it. We did not really enjoy producing it, but we wanted to have the experience. We wanted to have experiences in life. That's why we spent over $100,000 traveling all over the country to 9 national parks and state parks and cities and all kinds of places. We've been through like 2/3 of our entire nation, seeing some of the best sights and foods and experiences you can have. My wife and I are all about life optimization, life maximization while we're still young enough to do it. Yes, we are blowing through our retirement fund. I don't give a shit. As I said in my video, I will almost certainly not live to retirement age. We are choosing to live a very, very unconventional life. We do not expect anyone to agree with it. We do not expect anyone to promote it. We are only doing us, and we hope everybody else will do them. And if you can enjoy the ride, if you can come along, if you want to watch my content or her content because you think we're train wrecks, because you think we're disasters, because you want to watch us fail, because you're like us, there are so many people in my audience that blow me up in Instagram and DMs all the time, thanking me for being honest and transparent and speaking to their hearts and speaking to their minds about my addiction problems, my abuse problems, all of the things that I've experienced in life. I have put that out in the most raw format for everyone to consume. You can judge me, you can enjoy it, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. My brand is just being me for the sake of being me. And so for that, again, because I'm coming up on my camera cuts off at 29 minutes and I hate it. Again, I would just like to say thank you to Coach Colton for helping me to extend my reach. I want more people to be able to benefit from the experiences that my wife and I have had. I want people to be able to see the negative side effects that steroids have had on my wife and I both, so that when people are trying to decide whether or not this is the life for them, they can know the real, honest truth. Nobody out there tells you the real, honest truth. My wife and I have fights online so that you can see what it really looks like. I talk about my health problems online. I talk about my psychiatric problems online. Anybody who watches my channel and chooses to do Trenbolone knows exactly what to expect, because I do not pull any punches. My objective was to give people the maximum amount of true information so that they can make conscientious decisions with their own bodies about what they wanted to do with their lives. Do not copy what I am doing just because I am doing it. I paved my own trail. You paved yours. One last thing. I was going to cut it there, and then I looked at my notes after I wrapped that 29-minute section there. One of the last things that I wanted to point out that I didn't understand why he said this. He said in his video that it looked like I was making videos in a different place than where my channel started. Like as my life had somehow like declined or deteriorated. I don't know what this is based on, because when he makes this claim, you can see me walking through my neighborhood. My wife and I have been living in this house for 9 years. I've been making videos in this same house since day one. My standard of living with my wife and I has exponentially increased since we started making YouTube videos. That's one of the things I'm also very transparent about. He talked about the video that I made where I talked about how I got into a shopping addiction when we had all of our retirement money, and I blew $50,000 basically on Christmas gifts. My wife and I both have more luxury designer crap than we could wear for the rest of our lives probably. Since I started doing YouTube, my standard of living has now gotten to the point that it is difficult for me to find jobs that will cover it. Used to, our standard of living, I needed, to make $80,000 or so when I first started my YouTube journey. Now I need to make 120 minimum just to maintain our standard of living. We've had 4 BMWs. I had an M340i. She had an X5. I have an M240i now. She has an X3. We've had 4 BMWs, RVs, boats. I used to have a Skeeter ZX225, brand new boat. We've been living in this house that's 2,800 square feet. Our standard of living has continued to increase the entire time I've been doing steroids. So I don't know if that was some attempt of his toward the end of the video where he was maybe trying to not do anything to glorify my lifestyle. But for those of you who think that steroids destroy your life, they absolutely do not. Does that mean I'm not going to die soon? No, but anyone could die. People make these comments about how steroids are not healthy for you. Steroids are no more dangerous than the vast majority of things people are doing. Our world is monstrously, massively obese. People consume gigantic amounts of food. They drink alcohol, they smoke cigarettes, they use street drugs. There's a million ways in life that you can live a less than ideal life, that you can be doing something that's less than ideally safe. But for some reason, this spotlight gets put on everyone who's doing steroids. It's like, well, do you really think that's a good idea to run steroids like that? It's like, well, do you really think most of the things you do are a really good idea? And it's usually somebody who, like Coach K, Coach Colton may be, a non-risk taker. Again, I don't want to jump to conclusions about who this guy is. My idea of life is pushing it to the absolute limit because my life is finite. It's not going to last forever. And I've had 3 of my 4 grandparents lived to be 95. The last 25 years of their life were nothing that I want to experience. These were very healthy people. They lived very long lives and had very few medical problems. But even for the healthiest, 70-year-old, Donald Trump is 73 years old. He seems to be in phenomenal health. I still just don't want to live that long. I just don't care to ever be 70. And so if there's decisions that I'm making right now that might shorten my lifespan, that's a risk that I'm willing to take. I routinely drive 130 miles an hour in my M240i down George Bush Tollway in Dallas, Texas. I do this on multiple times a week. Is that safe? No, it's not safe, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I'm going to continue doing it until I wrap my car around a pole. Steroids are not necessarily safe in the ways that I'm running them. The lifestyle that my wife and I live is not necessarily the most optimal way of living forever. That is not our objective. Our objective is finding the most optimal way to have the maximum amount of fun while we're young enough to have it. And that's what we've been doing. So I just wanted to close up with saying, I don't know where this idea came that somehow we're on the decline. I make more money now than I did. I have nicer clothes, nicer furnishings, nicer experience, a greater taste of life. Steroids have thus far been absolutely nothing more than an addition to both my wife and I's lives. Her sex life is exponentially better since using steroids. Her body looks phenomenal. I think it was Coach Colton who said I look like an average bodybuilder. I'm 44 years old. I'm currently 5'10", 205. I have 6-pack abs year round. I'm ripped and vascular and cut year round. So yes, technically I'm a bodybuilder, but I don't really fall in the category of competitive bodybuilders. I am bigger and better looking than 99% of every single person I come into contact with on earth. I am bigger and better looking than 98% of everyone I've ever come into contact with in any gym on earth. So maybe compared to Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, like actual pro competitive bodybuilders, maybe I'm average. If I'm average, fine. If some people think that I do the volume of steroids that I do is not, that I don't have a body to equate to that, then you completely miss the point of my channel. So I would recommend anybody who's coming to this video, take some time and look through my content. My content has never been about building the biggest body that I can build. The cycles that I craft are about having the maximum quality of life. How can I have the best erections, the best libido, the best stamina, the best mental acuity, the best ability to perform in the boardroom, the bedroom, the courtroom? Like I want to be an absolute alpha animal in every form and facet. That's why I run very, very obscure, bizarre cycles. I am currently running 0 testosterone cycle. My current cycle is 400 milligrams of Deca, 400 milligrams of Masteron E, 100 milligrams of Tren E. I take Tren Ace 5 milligrams pre-workout 4 times a week. I'm taking 4.5 IUs of GH, and I pen 0.18 milligrams of estradiol valerate every other day. I'm on a no testosterone cycle because I think that testosterone is one of the single worst anabolics that you can run, and that nobody should be using it because you can replace the estrogen that it produces with real pure estrogen, and I have perfectly stable estradiol levels. That's one of the newest experiments that I've been running, is figuring out that the age-old bro science of taking massive amounts of testosterone and aromatase inhibitors, trying to control aromatase expression and dial in your estrogen is a total cluster F. It's totally not worth it. I get the most amazing performance in every facet of my life with absolutely 0 testosterone. So if you want to experience more of what this channel has to offer, then please dig in deeper and find out that while Coach K, I keep calling him Coach K, Coach K was a great coach, by the way. Coach Colton, he did a really good job of giving you an overview of what this channel has to hold, but he has only scratched the surface, and I hope you'll take the time to dig a little deeper and learn something about bodybuilding and life in general. So again, Coach Colton, thank you very much for helping me to spread the reach of my channel. I really appreciate everything you said, the time that you took to unpack all this. Again, I think you're a god amongst men for being able to be as unbiased and as sort of middle ground as you were. And for that, I thank you. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.